My name is Fadhila Nuruddeen Muhammad. I'm a journalist from Northern Nigeria, and I'm the founder of Teens Development Initiative, TDI, an organization that focuses on adolescents.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started with this episode.
I studied mass communication in Bayero University, Kano. And after that, I went on to another different field because I'm a girl of curious nature. So I had to change to another department, which is special education. So I'm now doing my master's in hearing impairment.
Thank you for that. All right, so were you born in Kano State or did you move to Kano from another part of the country?
No, I was born and raised in Kano State. I did all my educational programs here, and I've always been here. Only for maybe some few cases, I have been out of the country, maybe to stay in Ghana, but I didn't stay there for long. But I've always been in Nigeria, and most importantly, I've always been in Northern Nigeria.
All right, that's interesting. We'll talk about your book later on that you co-wrote, right? That is your book, or you co-write it?
No, that book was written. I and my sisters wrote the book, so it wasn't I alone that wrote the book. And it was during this Corona age, the boredom and everything, you be tired and not knowing what to do. So the next thing that came to my mind was, why not I should start this blogging? Like everyone is a blogger, so Fadhila, you can do something around it. I'm actually not a writer and I don't know how to write fictions, but I have sisters who know how to do that. So I came up with the story idea and I went to them, we sat and we discussed about it. And that was how we brought the idea of writing the book. And to my surprise, because it came unexpectedly, we had more than 50,000 readers. The book is called The Northerner. It's concerning Northern Nigeria, the culture. We're trying to display the culture because, for example, a lot of people are curious to know how our culture is, how we do our things, how we do our normal activities. So we wanted to portray that in the book. And maybe because of the age, the Corona age, maybe the situation which made people to be more and more interested in the book. And a lot of people reached out to me from Nigeria and outside Nigeria itself. So I was so surprised when I saw people asking, like, can we get the book? Can we buy the book? But unfortunately, we had to remove the soft copy from the internet because we didn't copyright it. So it wasn't something that we prepared for, you understand? So we just had to remove it, but we are preparing for the book launch very soon.
And let's talk a bit about you starting out as a journalist. Tell me about that background. That is important for us.
So I have always been curious. When you grow up in Northern Nigeria, when you're a lady, the expectation in you is maybe you should go and study medicine or any health-related course. So I was an art student, so my only option is to do any arts course, you understand? So I had to study mass communication. I was really interested in mass communication, but people were expecting me to study medicine, mainly because my mom is a medical doctor, a physician to be precise. So I got off the lane, So it's not the expectation of everyone. And in Northern Nigeria, you're expected not to be out in the spotlight. Being a journalist, it means you're always going to be out there, your face is going to be there, your voice is going to be there, and it's kind of contradicting the culture and tradition of our of where I'm coming from, you understand? So it wasn't easy for me, especially when I started practicing. I immediately got the admission. I went and we did it. It's a 4 years course. And when I finished, I immediately joined a radio station here in Kano. That was in 2018, after I did my NYSC in 2017. So it was then when I joined the radio station, I initiated a program on adolescents because I have always had interest in adolescents. I understand the problems, the challenges adolescents are facing here, but nobody is paying attention to that. Everyone is focusing on youths. Nobody is talking about the challenges faced by adolescents. And if we understand very well, we'll see that it's the most crucial stage of life where teens get a lot of changes, hormonal changes, mental changes in them, but nobody is saying anything. So the only concern raised is this girl or this boy is being too, he's not concentrating on them, he's not paying attention, he's being too stubborn. So this, when there's always something like that, will create a gap between the parents and the child, which brings about the lack of parent-child bonding. So I understood the problem we have, and I felt, okay, growing up, I have also had a lot of challenges because I have always wanted to have a mentor, somebody who would guide me, who would tell me, Fadhila, okay, you are very good at this. I think you should do this. Or maybe commend me for what I have done. So we don't have something like this in Northern Nigeria. And I felt there is need for us to create a safe space where kids will be kids, children will be allowed to be children, adolescents will be adolescents. As a space they will find very peaceful, where they will be allowed to share their ideas, relate with everyone, irrespective of the social or economic background. So that was the reason behind creating TDI, Teens Development Initiative.
Thank you so much for that. I like that. We are coming to the initiative just now.
Sorry.
No, that is fine. It's fine. The whole space is yours. You can say whatever you like as long as it's part of what you do. No problem at all. I'm trying to understand because you were specific on northern Nigerians. Do you have also some other persons that are coming from other part of the country so that you could sort of sample the idea to see if the problem that you are trying to address related to a teenager is the same in other part of the country, or do you know if this is peculiar to northern Nigeria? Of course, we are going to talk about your book later. Then we'll also look at some of those issues. You have time to explain those part better for me. But I'm trying to understand now if maybe you have had chance, because as a student there, I want to believe that there are other students coming from another part of the country, maybe from the south, east, or west, to see, maybe by curiosity, if what is happening in Kano State is the same with other part of the country. Help me understand that.
So what you understand when you're here is, and if you have been to the southern part of the country, you will realize there is a huge difference in the sense that here, when a child is growing up, okay, I understand we always maybe are in the middle of maybe extended family. That's in northern Nigeria. Even if you're not in an extended family, the community is always there. Maybe the society, everyone is watching you. That's what I'm trying to say. So that is a very good part of it. For a child to develop very well, he needs everyone around him. There is a saying that says, this saying always keeps my mind, but I'll try to remember it this time around.
Take a community to raise a child, something like that?
It takes a village to raise a child. It's not just about the parent. It's not just about one or two parents. It's not just about the siblings. It takes everyone. So if we understand this better, everyone will feel involved, you understand, and feel the responsibility of paying his dues. So we really have this, and I will commend Northern Nigeria for having that. But one of the things we do not understand is allowing a child to make decisions. So parents tend to be very overprotective here. They feel, okay, I need to be very critical of the child and very careful of where he's going. I understand you have to be doing that. But if you become too overprotective, not allowing the child to think on his own, always intervening with his ideas and not allowing him to grow, that is going to affect him. While in the southern part of the country, I feel a child is being allowed to be himself. There kids, when you see them there and you compare them to the kids here in northern Nigeria, you understand the difference in the way they take themselves. There's low self-esteem here in northern Nigeria, while there is tendency of high self-esteem there. There is lack of confidence here. But there in southern part of the country, a child can fully express himself everywhere he goes. But here we are still struggling with it. There's no mentorship. Nobody guides you. You are just going to be left to decide what you want to do with your life. That's if you are a male child. But if you happen to be a female child, I'm very sorry. By the time you're growing up, and if you happen to be biggish, kind of your body is kind of biggish, everyone will be expecting you to quickly get married and just get off. You understand? Nobody is thinking, okay, you might have some ideas which you would like to realize later in the future. Nobody is concerned about that. So everyone is more concerned here. If you're a lady, you just have to get married, settle in your husband's house, do the house chores and everything. And that's the end of it. And maybe the husband can decide your future. I understand men are very important in our lives. Men are allowed to talk to us, help us in making decisions. We can do this together. But putting everything in the hands of the male, the husband, I feel we're not being fair to him, because he has his own problems. He has a lot of things. And you are making him to decide the future of your daughter to him. That's really wrong. But there you can grow naturally there in southern part of the country. You make your own decision, you decide, and you're not going to be traumatized or stigmatized when you're not married. But here in northern Nigeria, if you're not married, it's a problem. When you reach a certain age and still not married, that's a huge crime. Like, they see it as a huge crime. And if you are a divorcee, that's another huge problem here. So it's kind of very difficult for us. And I feel this tax or this mentorship and awareness should start at adolescent stage. Both parents should be more aware of this important stage. Even the adolescents themselves should understand the rights they have, so that everything will be moving smoothly and they will be able to become better members of the society.
All right. Now, let's talk about the teen initiative project development that you have. Tell me how it started, and tell me what you are aiming at with this project.
So I started it in 2014. That was when I created an Only Women organization. So I was being careful, or too careful then, because you cannot just start something like that as a female in northern Nigeria, saying that you want to create an adolescent organization. That's like youth organization. Like, who are you? So I started with an Only Women organization where I will feel more safe and the society will better much accept it. So if they see it's Only Women organization, I feel all the criticisms are not going to be much. But by the time I realized, okay, I don't really want to go into this, I need to go into what I have always wanted, what I have always been obsessed with, which is adolescent stage. So I had or faced a lot of challenges. People were saying I created the organization just to be gaining money. People were saying I created it just to create some kind of a club where males and females meet, which wasn't really good at the time, but I had to keep pushing. I started by asking a few family members whom are adolescents at the time to connect me with some of their friends. And that's how I created a group on WhatsApp. And we started then. And in 2018, by the time I joined the radio station I told you about, I initiated a program which was called Spotlight on Teenagers. And in Hausa, because it was in English and Hausa, is Turangini Tiranzani, which means the earlier, the better you intervene in your kid's life. And this program is still running in the station that I initiated the program. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's great. That's interesting. So what is the key message that you want to pass across through this initiative, the Teen Development Initiative? I mean, what is the central message that you are passing across with it?
I'm trying to let everyone know that there is need for proper awareness. The adolescent himself needs to understand who he is. We don't even have a knowledge of that. We didn't used to have a knowledge of that, and we still don't have. You need to understand who you are as a person, understand the challenges you're going to face, understand the phases you're going through, the physical, emotional, social changes at the time, so that they will carefully prepare their minds and be ready for it. Because it's a very risky stage, but we tend to underestimate it. And I'm also trying to create awareness in the sense that parents will understand there is need for a close bond between the child and the parent. There is this gap between parents in northern Nigeria. As soon as you are at adolescent stage, you are just left alone. Sorry, yeah, nobody cares about what you do, and they still feel you are still a baby, you are still a child. There's need for this a kind of some independence. You have to attain that some level of independence. So the parents need to understand that so that they can be able to give that to the kids. And also, I really would I'm trying to create a safe space for the adolescents where I told you earlier they can be themselves, they can share ideas. We provide mentorship for them, people who will guide them to become proper individuals of the society.
All right, thank you for that. What you were looking for as a young adolescent, perhaps you didn't see it, so you are creating it for other people that are younger than you, so that they can have a reference point, right?
Sure, exactly.
That's interesting. All right, so you did talk of no wanting to come out in the spotlight, and so that maybe if you are a female in northern Nigeria, of course, looking at Kano where you are coming from, that there is this mindset that okay, as a female, you don't need to come out in the spotlight. So for you, it was even challenging as you wanted to become a journalist.
Exactly.
And of course, explaining also the situation of young adolescent, there of teen, of maybe be left without a reference, as it were. I'm sort of thinking, is it all this set of cultural, is it a tradition? Where is it coming from? What can you say about that?
Northern Nigeria is, let's say, predominantly a very reserved area where, of course, because of the tradition and culture, we cannot do a lot of things. And that has been complicating a lot of things we involve in. For example, recently I started co-hosting a TV talk show, which created a lot of controversies for me. People are asking, oh, people were asking everyone, they were calling me, they were asking my parents whether Fadhila has started joining the film industry, which is some kind of a taboo also here in northern Nigeria. So we're receiving lots of calls and we're doing lots of explanations. And here you just have to explain yourself. You cannot just escape. You cannot just, let them just think what they want. No, you have to. So it was really problematic for me because of the program. And I had to be explaining to them because I am a journalist. Whatsoever I'm going to say or whatever I'm going to do is coming from the journalistic perspective. It's a program where we invite influencers and people to talk to. So it was really, really hard for me and still, but we are going to move on. So I think it has to do with our culture and the nature of the environment we are. Okay, if I remember well, I came across a write-up which says that Northern Nigerians were, I'm not very sure, but I came across the write-up were the first set of individuals that started a TV film, like a TV program. They were the first. They were way ahead the southern parts of the country and other parts. So I think along the way, with the criticisms coming from the preachers, and maybe because of the culture and everything and the changes they were accepting, because change here is really slow. So easily, if you are going to move from position A going to position B and coming out to the spotlight, it's going to be a problem to you. And because of the changing time, you do not need to be going like before or all the old-fashioned the old-fashioned way. So of course, there have been a lot of changes in the industries, which people feel it's unacceptable. And it's not like we do not have a lot of actors or actresses. We do have them. There are a lot of them. Only that the rate at which there is development in the industry is very slow. So people do not even recognize that we are doing a lot of things in the movie industry, and we are making movies, several movies. It's just that the development is quite slow, and maybe because their representation in southern parts of the country or other parts of the country is really low. That's why people feel they are not a lot, but they are quite much here, and they have been doing amazing stuff.
Mm-hmm. And what will it take? Because of course I'm asking that because you did make mention of yeah, the film industry. Like when you started the project, people started thinking that you want to join the film industry, something like that, as if it were okay. You also use the word as if it were a taboo, because it's supposed to be normal, no? That a child growing up decide to express his or herself using the medium of the age, and of course, in this case, the film or maybe movie, as it were, writing books, and joining a podcast show and things like that. Just expressing yourself because you do have something to offer to say. Until you say it, nobody's going to know that you have something upstairs, no? So that is why I'm sort of curious. What would you need um to do to be accepted as a star, as a filmmaker, maybe in northern Nigeria, or somebody who should be allowed to express his or herself? What do they really expect of you in terms of how you comport yourself so that it can be accepted within the culture?
Well, thank you so much for this wonderful question, but I'm going to put it in as a lady, I want to tell you, for you to excel or for you to be out there at the spotlight, how much you need to put in as a Northern Nigerian female. First of all, you have to be very aware of the environment you are and aware of yourself and your family. So you have to be careful whatever you're going to do. You have to be sure whatever you're going to do is not going to cross boundaries. I think that's the first step to take. And you have to continue doing what you are doing. You need to find good mentors to mentor you, because if you're just going to stay in the comfort of your room, not allowing anybody to talk to you or not talking to anybody, you're not going anywhere. Because no, we do not even have much courses or workshops organized for this kind of things. So you have to outsource. You need to find people who are very good to guide you and mentor you. But just you being you and wanting to be something, if you just don't go out there and voice it out or seek for help, nobody is going to help you. So you have to go there and you have to express yourself and show your interest in whatsoever you're doing, so that people will guide you to become better in whatever you have been doing or you want to do. And you have to be persistent. You have to be persistent. You have to be nagging. You have to be consistent. You cannot just stop because of the criticisms, because they are never going to end. Everywhere, every time, every day, people are going to criticize you. So the best thing is for you to focus on what you are doing and be sure of where you are going and what you're doing. So far, and if this thing is not is not going to coincide with or going to affect your traditional or religious perspectives, that's fine. It's okay for you to go ahead and do it.
Where do we really have these challenges coming from? Is it from the point of view of culture, from the politics, or from the religion that the youth or the younger people are sort of having this blockage of being able to express themselves, of not really coming out of the spotlight? I'm trying to use your term there. Where is it coming from? This sort of this blockage on the part of whoever might be blocking them.
It's actually coming from all these things that you listed, because we already have our way of lives. Everyone, any setup, any society has its own way of living. So, we've already always been reserved, and it's not everything we've always been engaged in. And for us to accept new things here, it's quite slow. And so because of this, it's very difficult for somebody to be able to achieve what he wants to achieve.
Talking of northern Nigeria, people we usually remember such big names are the Queen Amina of Zaria and the rest of them. Okay, I'm just making mention of one. This also is in the north. So I'm trying to see that even within the culture of the north, women have also be vocal and occupy important position. But since when has it become almost a taboo that maybe a woman should always occupy the role of a wife instead of maybe like Queen Amina we do? Now we can see that Queen Amina is not even an ordinary person. It's a noble woman, or coming from it's a queen, or meaning coming from a royal family, and going to battle, going to fight, going to do things that trained soldiers are supposed to do. So which means now that she breaks down the barrier, and of course she make name for herself and for the people that she represents. What I'm trying to say here is that at that point, we see that women occupy important positions, not just relegated to the background. How did we move from there to where we are now saying, oh, women cannot come out in certain places, cannot say certain things, can only do certain things? I don't know if you can help me clarify that part.
I think this could be since the beginning of time, if I may say it that way, because only God knows the struggles she went through. This has always been with Northern Nigeria. If you see any woman who has reached a certain level, you must commend her for her effort, because I'm sure it wasn't easy for her to be there. You have to double in your effort. You have to do like 10 times what the men do. It's not easy for somebody to be whom he wants to be, especially a lady or a female from Northern Nigeria. You have to put in more and more effort. It's not very so easy, just like the men do it here, because everyone is going to see, why are you doing this? Is it because you're not married, that's why you're doing this? So that's the first question that always comes to mind. If anybody is being seen out there, the first thing that comes to mind is probably she's not married. That's why she's having this opportunity. Because once you are married here, there are some certain standards you have to commit to, and you cannot just go beyond them. So it has always been like that. So it's a lot of struggle for a lady or a woman to be whom she wants to be here.
All right. Now, say maybe a woman decide to be who she want to be because she know what she want to be. Okay, I understand now that sometimes poverty can also be used as an instrument to put people under check because, okay, you don't have money to do what you have to do, so you're going to have to obey certain rule by other people who are going to give you money. They tell you this is what you have to do. But say maybe, for instance, there is this lady, this woman who have the income to be able to take care of her need. For this reason, she doesn't need to start begging other people, please come and help me. Can she do what she really want to do? Say she go ahead and do what she really want to do for herself as a woman, speak out for herself and say what she have to say. What will happen to her in Northern Nigeria?
Sometimes it's not only money. Money is not always the problem, because if you are to even reach a certain position, maybe you can engage in some kind of voluntary works yourself and be doing a lot of things, maybe from your own environment. You understand? I'm not saying all the time money is the problem that is stopping us from doing some things. But in the case of a lady who has her own money, she also needs to be careful. So how did she even come about with the money? How did she even get the money? It might be maybe from her own family. Maybe her family are well-to-do. Or maybe because after the death of her husband, she was able to accumulate some wealth. So it could be any of this reason, But she also, wherever she finds herself, she has to be within the confinement of her environment, her tradition, culture, and religion. She's not going to be allowed to do anything or everything she wants. She always has to be very careful with what she does and what she involves herself in.
Now, if she doesn't do that, what then happen?
Of course, she's going to have a lot of criticisms. She's going to be criticized. She's probably going to be stigmatized too because of her situation. Since she's also single, that's a huge problem for her. Like being single in Northern Nigeria is not an easy thing. So she will be dealing with a lot of things.
But there's a lot of things we are talking of, because people are going to be talking bad at you. People are going to be criticizing you. Is that where it ends, or is there any? Yeah, please go.
Sorry. The first people that are coming after you are your immediate family, because everyone is going to ask them, why are you behaving the way you are? And in Northern Nigeria, everyone thinks he has a say on whatever you do, not even your first family. everyone around you, your community leaders, your neighbors, everyone. So that's where she's going to first meet all these kind of problems. It's starting from the family. And whenever you are too afraid and not too comfortable to be doing things simply because you know your own family are against it, that's where the problem is. That has a huge role to play in preventing you or discouraging you from going for what you've always wanted. Because at the end of the day, you're always coming back to the family. We are not like other parts of the country where you'll be allowed to just move out because you have your own money. Who are you? No, you cannot do that here. You always have to be within the family members. You are always going to be there, except when you are ready to get married and you get the opportunity to move out of the house. So you always have to be careful no matter the stage you reach, except if you are willing to accept all the criticisms and you're going to close your ears and eyes and then just do what you want, you can move out. But that's for exceptional cases.
All right, let's talk about that exceptional cases. In that, yes, we have the rule. The rules are set up so that certain tradition can be kept and all that. Of course, okay, we know the gist. That is how it is in every part of the world.
Exactly.
But it is not always like that, no? Because if that is always like that, society will never progress. Yeah. Because we will always do what we have always do. That is one story, I think, coming from ancient Greek, where everybody is living inside a cave. Of course, inside a cave now, this can also metaphorically mean that the society is living in a cave. No, we are living in a circle that have certain beliefs, certain customs, certain tradition. If somebody comes from the outside and tells you and presents something different to you, that person is ostracized. That person is looked upon as if you are a threat to the circle because you are breaking the circle. So these people that are living inside a cave, now one person managed to escape from the outside and then go out and see the light. And then they go inside the cave and tell the people, hey, the world is different from what you have in here. And everybody were laughing at him. How can you say the world is different? This is what we have always known.
Exactly.
So, of course, they continue to criticize it. So what I'm saying here is that is a metaphor of the society, that there are certain codes that have been established, and everybody is expected to follow that codes for the purpose of the continuity of the little group, of the small group, or even of the bigger group, if we want to put it like that. But we can see that sometimes that circle needs to be broken so that we can live. It look at it like a little chick inside the egg. That is a circle.
Yes.
If you want that chick to live, you need to break that circle and come out. That is where life comes. Otherwise, it's going to remain inside and it's going to just groom and perhaps it will never really go beyond that, no? So, say maybe, for example, there are some of these individuals now who are able to bear the torture of criticism, people talking bad at them and all that. Are they able to do what they have to do, or is there any physical danger? A police of culture, a police coming from the religion, a police coming from the state who is going to be looking after them to harm them because they decide to act differently? That is what I'm trying to understand from there.
So there have always been, some bold women who have made this kind of moves, and they have reached a certain stage or stages in their lives. And we can see them in northern Nigeria. For anybody to reach a certain stage, she must have made this kind of bold move. There's a story I had recently. A lady was saying that there was a time she came from another state to Kano because she wanted to join the film industry. And she was lucky enough to get a rental house. And after some few days, maybe few days or months, unfortunately for her, the landlord came and told her that he forced them out of the house mainly because they are not married. So he cannot just give them the house for rent. So Even a house for you to move out, I told you, is something that is not accepted here in northern Nigeria, for you to move out of your house. And sometimes you cannot be able to do or achieve some things if you are still there and you have people pushing you back, discouraging you. So you need to move out, get some encouraging people around you for you, and be able to reach wherever you want to reach. Some people might be very lucky in the sense that they can have their husbands or supportive families. I'm not saying we don't have this kind of families. We do have them. Only that the majority are whom we are talking about here. We have very supportive people. Some people have supportive families, supportive husbands, supportive brothers and sisters, which is very ideal for everyone to reach whatever stage she wants to reach. But majority we are talking about are this kind of family who think you are not allowed to do all these things that you want to do, and you have no right to move out of the house, which is going to be a problem to you. You cannot be able to realize all these things you want to realize. So that's the case in northern Nigeria. We do have some supportive people.
Now, knowing all of this, because you were born there in the north, you grew up there, and you know the tradition and the custom, and you decide to set up this initiative for the thing. What do you tell them, knowing these the circumstances? What do you tell them? Tell me the message you tell them.
Well, whenever, like yesterday, I attended a program where I met with a lot of adolescents and youths. Predominantly, they were women there. So there was a lady that came to me and told me she would like me to guide her on how to create an organization for the IDPs, that's the internally displaced persons, because she's a victim also. So what I told her is that she has to really define what she wants to do. She has to be exact. And after doing that, she has to focus on it, because she's going to, along the way, have a lot of challenges. She's going to have challenges from home, from the society. People are going to criticize what she does. And she has to be ready to accept all that. Because along the way, if she feels that's too much for her, she might just feel, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore because of the challenges. So she has to be ready before starting anything in life. So if you are not definite in what you want to do, it will be difficult for you to go anywhere you want to go. So you have to be definite, and you have to be intentional in whatsoever you would like to engage yourself in. So I think that's some of the things I tell them.
All right. And what did they tell you? What do you see as a result of the message that you tell them? How do you evaluate their responses to you?
Well, majority that I'm dealing with always have problems in their families. So there are a lot of ladies, a lot of, males, adolescents that want to achieve a lot of things in the society. But their number one problem is their immediate families. Maybe because they're coming from dysfunctional families, maybe because the families are not capable of supporting them, things like that. So majority of whom I'm dealing with are coming from dysfunctional families and not well-to-do families who are willing to support them. There's a lady that I advised on. She told me that she would like to engage in one of the radio stations here in Kano, because she is studying journalism in the university. So I advised her on how to go about it. But she told me that she has been stopped. She just told me yesterday that she's been stopped by her family from attending. So, this is the problems we are facing here in northern Nigeria. It's a huge struggle. Really, it's a huge struggle. It's not easy to do what you want to do. It's not easy to become whom you want to become. And you need support. And if there is no that environment that is supportive and willing to help you and encourage you, it will be very difficult for you, because you will face a lot of criticisms. You will become traumatized and probably end up being depressed at the same time. So we need this supportive environment, and which is what we are trying to make awareness about, so that everyone understand the value of what we are talking about.
With this situation like this, how are you able to practice your journalism? How are you able to navigate the society and able to deliver your message to the people? How easy is it? Tell me about that.
Well, I know exactly the reason why I started it, And I understood we have made a lot of impacts from the little we have been doing so far. And I understand if we do not have somebody like me who are willing and capable of mentoring others, talking to others, the society is going to face a lot of challenges. We've had numerous or several women coming to us with their kids telling us that this is what the kid is engaged in. Maybe he's following friends and engaging in drugs, and we sit and talk to the kids. I have had a lot of males and females coming to me with several issues. So I'm just always thinking if there isn't somebody like me who is willing to always talk to, because while growing up, I understood I also needed somebody like that. So if we do not have anybody listening to these kids, how do we expect to develop and improve every day? That's why I feel the growth and development here in the part of the country I am is quite slow. There was a time a national newspaper published a story that 3 million bottles are consumed daily between Kano and Jigawa states. That's a huge number, and that was some years ago. So because of this population, every day it's increasing. You can imagine whom are doing nothing and do not have anyone encouraging them. So these are some of the things that have been motivating me to continue doing what I'm doing.
Is there at a point in time that maybe the government intervene in that? There is even the idea that at a certain point in time, when you become 18, when you become adult, you sort of take responsibility for your life at some point. No, you do what you have to do for your interests and also for the interest of the society where you live in. And when you do this, of course, you don't need to be over scared that the society is going to be choking you down as if you were living inside a remote village. Because, of course, now Kano is a big city, one of the biggest cities in Africa, no? So I sort of, I'm trying to understand if the way of life in Kano is a kind of open, where people are able to be able to express themselves without the necessity of fearing that, hey, my in-law is going to come, hey, my family is going to come, as if maybe we are living inside a small village. So, what is the role of the state intervening in a situation like that to make sure that people are free to express themselves as citizens of the country without being bogged down by certain tradition and norm of a village style? Yeah.
Well, I can't really say if the state has any provision for this, because so far since we started this movement, we haven't had any governmental, unit has come to us for anything like that. And it's because we do not even have these organizations that are focusing on maybe adolescents. That's the reason I started this org. So I don't think we have this provision where the government is promoting a lot of things. I'm not saying they're not doing a lot for the youth. They might be doing, but I don't really know what they are doing about it concerning the self-esteem, confidence, creating confidence or encouraging confidence among youths. I don't really know if there's anything like that.
Does that have any consequence in the long run?
Of course, it has. Like for a society to not have a lot of people who create or provide mentorship for the youth, I feel there's going to be a lot of problems. And we are already seeing it. A lot of youth are engaged in drugs. A lot of them are engaged in this political violence. Just some few days ago, an adolescent killed his own mother while she was praying. And many people raised the concern of drugs. And you can see we receive a lot of news like that, which are not good and unfortunate. So that's why we're doing what we're doing here.
Now, tell me about the book. What is the key message that you are pushing with the book?
So, The Northerner is a book which I and my sisters, Hafsa and Salma, created in the Corona age. Let me just say that. So it's a book we've written on women trafficking, and we were trying to showcase the northern Nigeria, to show everyone how our culture is and how So it's basically about women trafficking and displaying the culture of northern Nigeria, and it's a romance. It's romance.
All right. So the people that have read the book, what did they tell you about it?
Okay, so we've had a lady who told us that she's been reading for more than 20 years, but she's never come across a book in northern Nigeria which captivated her attention like ours. So, and I have had a lot of people calling from Nigeria and outside the country asking us about the book. So that's what prompted us to even start preparing for a book launch so that we'll be able to sell it online and also sell the hard copy very soon, God willing.
So at the moment now, people cannot buy the book. They need to wait for when it is launched again, right?
Yes, I told you earlier that we started this unpromptly and it wasn't something we were expecting. It was just the number that called our attention and we realized that we were doing great thing. We started it because of boredom and all of a sudden we had more than 50,000 readers worldwide. So that was the reason we realized, okay, we haven't copyrighted this book. We have to bring it down. We'll register first, prepare everything before we get it out there.
Tell me about that period of that process of copywriting. What do you mean by copywriting, and how do you do that?
Okay, so here before I was told that because I had to consult a few people who have published books, and they told me because before you publish any book, you have to go and register your book before you get it out there so that people will not be able to just take away what you've done later in the future. You know, some people are capable of doing something like that. You will go and make all the efforts, but there was still the idea, the name of the book, and then use it to their own advantage. So we had to prepare for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you prepare for that? What do you do? Explain to me what exactly you do in that. Is it that you take it to a place, you register, they give you a name, you put some, help us understand it for people who do not know the process.
So actually, we are still in the process. We had to consult a few people, and you know how things are. We were told that the person that is going to feed us with the information will get back to us. So, but we have been preparing for copyright and the other one, trademark is the other one. You also have to register with trademark. So we have to make inquiry. But at this stage, we are at the stage of review, because we are going over the book to see if there is any correction, because we were lucky enough to have an English professor from Bayero University, Professor Kamal, who went through the book and made a few corrections on it. So we are trying to establish that and effect all the changes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, for the correction, I can understand, but when the book is ready, we put it out there. Of course, I think automatically it's already copyrighted, as it were. Go.
Copies earlier. We published a few copies earlier. We published like 50 books. And then we realized, okay, we have to give somebody who is going to go through it. It's not something that we do every day. This was something we just did because we had free time and we were bored. So we didn't know we had to give another person to go through it and make some corrections until after we did everything. So that's why we didn't even go ahead with the book launch and publicizing the book.
How do you feel about that book and the outcome of it? Because you have during the COVID-19 situation, people were bored, they didn't know what to do. But you made something good out of it and you see the outcome. How do you feel about that? And you and your sister, of course.
Yes, we are very delighted for that, because having something you never expected is quite an honor. And of course, in the long run, how we want to go about it is that we would like to involve the government, because this is something they can add to the curriculum of the students. So I think we are going to push the book out there where every kid can be able to read it and gain a lot from it.
All right. Thank you so much, Fadhila. Now, what would be your final thoughts here considering what we have discussed today? And how can people also find you? Please share that with us to conclude the conversation.
Okay, so I want to emphasize on that you have to be intentional in whatsoever you're doing. You have to define what you want to do and how you want to achieve it. along the way, if you are somebody like me from the environment I am from, you face a lot of challenges, and these challenges do not mean you should just back down and stop doing what you're doing, as far as you realize whatever you're doing is very good and in order. So you have to keep pushing, keep moving, and stop thinking of all the negatives that might be coming to you, and find the necessary people whom you think can consult or guide you to become better. Sorry. So I think that's what I wanted to say to everyone else.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the conversation. It has been a pleasure here talking with you.
Thank you.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewanfo. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode.